Today, I'm with Tom from the Found Money Guy. Tom, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, I appreciate the invite.
First of all, please could you tell me a little bit about your business?
Well, what we do is cost segregation, and that's for building owners to help them accelerate the depreciation write-off they take. This is something that their CPAs don't do. It's too detailed, but a lot of building owners think that their CPAs are already doing this. So it's a little bit of an education, and then we offer a free estimate. So once they can see how much money they can be depreciating in a single year, that's something that they'll want to do. And so that's when they tell their CPA, yeah, you need to work with Tom.
And so how do you get leads for this business?
A lot of it, there are some CPAs that are more value focused for their clients, and they say, okay, I know a little bit about this, and this is something we need to pursue for you. But other times I try to go out directly to the building owner and find them, because sometimes the CPA is a bit of a gatekeeper for the building owner. But the building owner is the one that feels the pain of writing that big check to the IRS every year. So they're the one more incentivized to try to lessen that pain.
And how do you use content marketing in your marketing mix?
Well, I've been doing a lot with like articles and things, and just trying to kind of like public service announcements, all about education on the cost segregation topic. And people don't like to read, right? So it's one of those things where I know that video is more effective, and I've been making some videos myself, like getting in front of the cell phone camera and shooting that. But that takes a lot of time, and sometimes I'm not probably the most photogenic person, and not the one that, if it's just me talking to a camera, that's not as dynamic as scenes changing all the time. And that's kind of what attracted me to Pictory.
Well, that's great. Maybe you can just describe how you're using Pictory as part of your video marketing campaigns.
Well, it's actually taking the content that I'd created for, whether it was a video script for myself or an article, and taking that content and running it through Pictory and then making some adjustments. Because a lot of times Pictory will bring up images in the film, in the little video clips that I never thought of, and they're more dynamic and catches the person's eye. And then I have my words that I created at the bottom on screen. And so it's a great marriage of the two. So I've got a lot of content that I've already repurposed through Pictory.
I'm glad you mentioned the word repurpose, because this is something that we're very keen on, is getting people who have already made the investment in producing content, whether it's written content or video content, but getting it out there using Pictory and making it work for them.
Yeah, that's one of the things. In fact, I was first introduced to Pictory. There was a class that a networking colleague of mine put on. It was all about creating videos with AI. So what she was doing, she was marrying ChatGPT as a content creator. And then once you have that content, feed it into Pictory. That works great. Sometimes the ChatGPT stuff is really long, so you end up making like a 5-minute video, and that's never going to fly. So, and I was in that class, and that's how I've never heard about Pictory before. But then I saw the power of that and said, I've got some content, rather than, because the ChatGPT is great. It kind of helps that blank page syndrome when you don't know what to write. Throw it in ChatGPT, it'll give you something, and you go, oh, I like this, I like that. No, drop that, drop that, drop that. So it pulls some stuff and makes you much more creative faster. But a lot of times you've got content, yourself, probably in your own marketing materials, that you can use, as the engine that Pictory is going to use to try to come up with the video clips to match it.
Yes, most people have got an enormous amount of content that is just sitting there doing nothing for them. And Pictory unlocks the value of that content and means that it can start working for them and attracting leads and generating business. Have you found that short videos are working better for you than longer form videos?
Yeah, this is one of the things I've found. I've done some research, and they say, yeah, under 2 minutes is like the absolute max. I try to do a little bit, try to keep it to a minute. Seems like I never can get, in that 1 minute mark. So it's like a minute, 15 seconds or something like that. So it's very, very short. But at the same time, my industry is pretty technical. So I have to kind of talk about, there's a lot of big words. Cost segregation is a big word. And then if you talk about accelerated depreciation, it doesn't take too much. You've got a word salad of just all these big words coming at you. I've tried to take that and, I don't want to say dumb it down, but just make it more manageable so it's easier to understand without using those buzzwords. And that's one thing that when I first started doing this, I was Mr. Buzzword, throw it out there, expecting everyone to follow it. And a lot of times people just They don't want their brain to work that hard, so they'll just kind of ignore it and kind of shut off. So you kind of keep it simple, so it's engaging at the same time. The changing videos is what keeps people's attention. And a lot of times I'll put in something that's kind of funny. It's amazing how many video clips you get of people handling cash. And so kind of the found money guy, I'm talking about money. And so there's a lot of video streams of some guy just sitting there counting money, or through a money counting machine, you see all these 100 bills coming out. So it's things like that that gets people's attention. So I'm kind of starting to use some of those more and more.
Adding visuals to longer content and cutting it down makes longer content into snackable little snippets that people can absorb. And then if they want more information behind that, then they can go to your website and get the rest of the data, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell me what you do with the videos when you've created them? Do they go on your website? Do you use them on socials, or is it a combination?
It's a combination. I actually have a YouTube channel, and I've got to repurpose them out to that. But typically when I create them, I'll put it on LinkedIn and Facebook, sometimes Twitter. I don't have a huge Twitter following. I mean, cost segregation, it's a pretty small audience. But on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's something that gets people's attention. So if it's not the building owner itself or themselves, it's somebody they know. Like there's somebody that owns a building, and they'll forward it on to them. And so I've gotten quite a bit of traction here recently seeing those things, because cost segregation is for every building owner. So I've made some videos that were very focused on the building type, like breweries. And another one is kind of the brewery restaurants, car washes, and then just other building types that are kind of focused so that catches people's attention.
Research shows that videos are shared much more than text articles. So I think the sharing part of this is really key, particularly if you want to get the word out about your brand or use it for lead generation.
Absolutely.
It's obvious by your background that you're a numbers guy, Tom. Can you put some numbers on the benefits of using Pictory so far?
Well, I've only been using it for about less than a month. But one of the things I found is that I've got some people that have just recently reached out to me, and I haven't actually had a chance to talk to them yet. And I'll have those meetings later this week. So I don't know what the actual result would be yet. But I know the word's getting out there. I had people just, for my website, set up a meeting, and then I got that meeting with them tomorrow. But there's things like that where I've had people reach out to me from all over the country. I mean, I haven't done one on self-storage units yet, but that's another one that's coming. And I've had people reach out for cost segregation on self-storage units, which is what I think self-storage units is a facility type that I think most people wouldn't think of for cost segregation, because they think it's a metal box, right? But there's so many pieces of that metal box that are not structural, and that's what we can accelerate the depreciation on. So there's things like that. I've got just a tremendous amount of content that I could actually repurpose to try to get out to the owners of those buildings, because they've never heard of this.
The amount of videos that you can make is almost infinite. You're very unlikely to run out of content if you've been in business for any amount of time. At the moment, roughly how many videos do you think you're making a week or a month?
Well, in the first week, I think I made 5. And so I'm kind of repurposing those and sending those out again. But I'll be in a meeting and I'll hear somebody mention something. Oh, I can make a video about that. In fact, one I did, I'm a member of the Bilingual Kiwanis Club of my local area. And Kiwanis is an international organization that's really focused on children. So I made one trying to show the plight of Hispanic children in our community, specifically Texas, which is the state I'm in the U.S. And it's one of those things where the video was so impressive that it kind of embarrassed some of the local politicians. So they reached out to my organization and said, yeah, don't show that anymore. It's all their data, right? It's just shown and displayed in a way that people don't want to bring attention to. So my whole intent was to encourage people to donate to Kiwanis or to join Kiwanis and help us help the children, because a lot of times those things get lost in the mix. It was effective because it got the message across. Unfortunately, it was a message that the politicians didn't want shared.
Well, we'll apologize to all the politicians, shall we? But not too much.
Not too much. I mean, it just shows you the power of the tool, right? Because that was one where I wrote kind of the script, and Pictory did a great job of grabbing clips of like the Texas flag flying next to the American flag And for Texans, that's a very powerful image, the Texas flag. And we're very proud of our history in our state. So that's one thing that gets people's attention. When you see the flag and then you see school children, and it drove the message home.
What's really cool here is the fact that you can have an idea for a video and you can produce that video without needing to do a lot of planning, without needing to spend a lot of money on outside agencies or video editing staff.
That's perfect. In fact, that's one of the things that we talked about. And I've kind of shared my whole story with a couple of my networking groups, saying this is easy. I mean, you can create a video, finished professional video, in way less than an hour. And that wasn't done before. Because, if you're going to do it yourself, you got to write the script and you got to set the camera, get the lighting, do it. And then if you do it on the outside, you're spending hundreds of dollars, probably minimum $500 to do a video with a video crew. And then it's going to be up from there. So this is something that you can create a professional looking video in a matter of minutes. And most of my time is spent tweaking, looking for that exact video clip to go with the text, right? So that's where most of the editing time comes in, is to try to search for the right video clip. But the Pictory tool makes it easy to do that. And if you can search for an image on Google, you can search for a video clip in Pictory.
We just added Getty images to the stock image and stock video libraries, which means that there's another, I think it's 10 million assets that are available. So it's just getting better and better. Yeah. Before you started using Pictory, Tom, were you doing any video marketing at all?
I was doing a little bit. Like I said, I was doing it myself. One of the things that everybody runs into when they start doing video is just you forget what you're going to say, right? You have all those great ideas, the camera turns on and you're fumbling for words. So I went out and I found a teleprompter program that I could kind of put my script in and then have the teleprompter on my laptop behind the camera. So almost like a professional newsreader, you're reading it off and you can control that, which took a lot of time, right? Because you have to edit that down as far as the speed that it goes up. So there's a lot of setup time than to shoot the video. And then you had a couple takes. And so this is so much faster and the results are so much more professional. It's amazing. And you can, on the voiceovers, you can change the voiceover to depict whatever emotion you're going for. Because some of those voices are a little bit slower. Some are more upbeat and exciting. So it kind of depends on how you want to portray your video. You can select the voice that matches that emotion that you're wanting to portray.
In the very near future, we'll also be adding lots and lots of other voices as well. So as with the images and the videos, it's just going to keep getting better and better. Were you using a desktop editor to produce the videos before?
Yes. There's a couple different video programs I've been using. In fact, this is kind of an offshoot of a previous job. I was in scuba retail or scuba diving, and was shooting some video on some of our dive trips, and I was editing it together, and that was a laborious process. And it was the one thing. I had an older computer. When you're dealing with video, old computers are painful. I mean, because it's a lot of memory and it takes a lot of time for it to create the video and render. And it's like, okay, I've got it done. I'm going to tell it to do its process. I'm going to go eat dinner and come back, and maybe it'll be done by then. So it was a very laborious process. This is so much faster, and it's awesome. I mean, just using those snippets of video, very high quality, but the fact that you've got a video that's much smaller than something you would create on your own.
We render everything in the cloud, so that's on us. You don't need to have that powerful hardware anymore. You've been very generous with your time. I just have one further question, if I may. To meet someone that had never tried Pictory, what would you say to them?
I would say try it. If you've got some kind of marketing content or pamphlet or something, take that content, run it through Pictory, and you'll be amazed. And your creative juices will get going, and you'll know what to do to edit it. But again, it's what I call that blank page syndrome. When you sit down to write an article or write a report, in school, you don't know where to start. This is a great way to get you up and running fast, and you can see what it could be.
Thank you so much for your time. You've been a real gentleman. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.